Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard to this live show. And we are on the Wednesday edition of the Shortwave live show. Let me just make sure everything is all right. Open the chat here. Do a little something here. There we go. And that is okay here. I'm going to move this here. And move this over here so that everything is all right and well positioned. And here we go. Here we go. And there. Just going to make things a little bigger. It's extremely windy tonight. We have like 70 kilometers per hour winds outside. It's crazy. I could hear the wind howling because my window is just slightly open with a lot of foam to kind of isolate it from all the wires coming in, but it still whistles. The wind is so strong that I hear the whistling through the window. There we go. Put a little more here, a little more here. Here we go. That is perfect. And tonight is nostalgia time. It doesn't mean we can't tune around a few signals. Got the laptop here that I'm going to bring over with the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. And we've got something here, 4043 upper sideband. Check if there's some kind of net or something. Some kind of communications here. 4043. A lot of Mars nets on the bottom part. Yeah, okay. It's not very strong, but it's there. Four 4043.5 upper sideband. Probably some Mars net, something like that. Military auxiliary radio system. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome aboard. Hope that you enjoy tonight's show. A little bit of nostalgia tonight. We're going to go back in time. And also, I'm going to talk about how I've maybe what we're going to do in the future shows also. Anyways, let's start with the start. You got to start somewhere. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to this show where we talk about shortwave radio in general. So funny because got a comment this week on a channel. Someone saying, "Well, with that show being a stream on YouTube, that's why shortwave is dying." And it's like, I think you don't understand the concept here. I think I've actually made more people listen to shortwave with this than actually taking people away from shortwave. It's just so funny how people don't understand sometimes. And and you get all sorts of these comments. I mean, you guys should see all the comments that I get all the time here. You would be like, half of the comments are like, okay, I think you don't understand the concept. The other half is mixed, and of course, there's a small portion of apparently I'm an idiot and I shouldn't be doing this. But that's life, I guess. People that are behind a screen and not in front of your face, are feel that they have humongous power, and that they can actually treat you like trash. It's just so weird. But anyways, and it's sad because in my case it's like it just bumps off and it's like who cares. Um, but I find it sad for those that over years made content and stopped because it was too much to bear for them. Um, Sometimes people take it too personally, unfortunately. So, too personal. Okay, my name is Jill. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. We are here to entertain, have fun, talk about radio. Tonight, we're going to go back in time and I'm going to have questions for you guys. And the direction of the show is going to go with these questions. So, keeping that in mind that we're going to kind of, for those of us that have been shortwaving for a long time, there might be some nostalgia and maybe we'll feel like, when we're 30, 40, 50 years ago. And for those that are new, well, you'll have a little look back in time into the shortwave past. And it's not because the shortwave bands now or the future of shortwave is bad. It's okay. I've seen some news reports that NHK Radio Japan might focus on just Japanese broadcasts, starting maybe with the next schedule season. That's where, and that's why, once again, we need to write to stations. Do you know why they do that? It's not just to save money, but if none of you are writing to NHK Radio Japan to let them know that you're listening to their English broadcast at what time or French at what time, well, they might be thinking, well, nobody's listening. And we got to be active today. I say it all the time. You want to keep your shortwave alive. You want to keep the stations that we have alive. You want to have maybe some stations come back. Well, the only way to do that is to be active and try to, you know, sell them shortwave as a medium of an international way of giving us news of your country. Sheldon Harvey of that co-hosts International Radio Report with me and one of the presidents of the CIDX Club was mentioning how Radio Canada International was one of the rare shortwave broadcasters out there that had Ukrainian language broadcasts. And you can't help but thinking that with what's happening in Ukraine, maybe the Ukrainian population would benefit from having as many Ukrainian language broadcasts from the outside world, giving them details of what's happening. I think that's important to understand that shortwave has a purpose. It's not just fun games. It's also in times of dire situations of a place where it can help change what the world is going to be in the future. And I think too many governments are forgetting that. And I would say, if we put it even further, is too many governments are on the impression that that is something that isn't important and that it doesn't matter. We could just lower that shortwave outlet or just remove it because it doesn't matter. We're going to save money. Unfortunately, saving money isn't all in the world, and that is something that we've got to understand. When they were talking about BBC World Service, in the UK, they have fees for TV licensing and radio that you pay every year if you want to be legal. And you come to a moment where you're thinking, wow, it's like good news, good sources of news isn't money. Money is not the problem. It's not, we got to stop thinking about the best sources of broadcasting out there as a money thing. We just got to think about them as we want good sources. The day that everything just shuts down and you let it go on its own, um, we're in deep trouble. I mean, we'll have difficulty finding or even knowing if the source of the news we get is reliable, is good, good journalism, and good radio and good TV reporting, unfortunately, is fading away. There's too much reporting on one side. That's not reporting and that's not news. News is being totally, totally independent and just asking the questions and the facts and letting the audience decide for themselves what they think about it. More and more, we're seeing these news outlets that are not fair. They are asking biased questions to distort the facts. And so they're positioning their audience towards one side. That ain't news and that ain't what it should be. And I think shortwave showed us through the years, and for the old timers like me and some that are even older than me listening to shortwave, we understood that with the Cold War and with listening to shortwave in the 70s and the 80s and even in the 60s. We were in the middle of something. We were at the front seat of an event called the Cold War, and we listened to all these voices. And what we needed to do after that is to take that and try to make sense of that. We were hearing 30 different voices in our heads. We were making our own idea of, okay, so okay, that's kind of what's happening and the truth behind it. Because the truth is not something you find in one source. It's something you find by listening to multiple sources and making your own mind. Anybody that listens to one source and decides that's the truth, no, I think you're not understanding how you have to use your brain to make sure that what you believe in is correct. Don't let someone change your mind on what is happening. Let your mind, with multiple sources of information, give you enough information to make your own mind about it. Today, it's not that. There's a lot of news sources on one side giving people a biased one side view, news sources on the other side giving biased views of that side, but nobody's in the middle, or there are, but we're not enough people in the middle to kind of like, well, okay, I listen to that side, the other side, and even somebody's other side that I would never have listened to, and I made my own decision on this. I didn't decide on what I got as a report on TV tonight. I got enough news and enough information from everywhere to know that, okay, so this is the actual facts according to what I understand. And shortwave is that. And it's sad because shortwave, if we want to keep that, we have to continue having as multiple and as many sources as possible. So that's my point of view in my rhetoric. So you better believe it. Exactly the opposite of what I just said. So, anyways, we've got to have people understand that the more we have point of views, the better the mix of what we understand. And that was for a long time exactly what was the Cold War for a lot of us. Multiple point of views and making our own idea of what's happening, what we're stuck in. You know, we got to be careful because we don't. I hate. I personally hate polarized political stuff. People always on one side of one party, never being able to move on to something else. Um, it gives me an idea that they can't move on with something else. And shortwave and radio in general and TV and all the media we have is meant for us to get that information. And if we are understand that we're not happy with one side, we could move on to another side, or we could move on to another idea. We could move on to something that is totally outside of what we have. And what does that do? It brings something new. It brings something that maybe, new ideas are coming and a new way of thinking of going forward. Radio is incredible for that, and shortwave radio particularly is really good for that, because there's nothing like hearing the point of view of 20 different persons to make your own and say, well, you know what, that person is interesting in what he or she just said. That person too. That person too. It makes you reflect upon, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm not totally wrong, but once there's, I should change certain aspects of my own way of thinking. And that's what radio is all about. It's multiple source of information. Try to process it and try to do the best with all of that. And so, my name is Joe, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We have a beautiful chat room where there's wonderful people that are just there to help, have fun, help you with the hobby of radio listening, and share their experience, and just have a good discussion on radio, on what's out there, much more than people think. When somebody comes to me and says, "Well, I left shortwave because there's nothing." Well, I think you're not really focusing very well on everything that's out there. We got to look at all the aspects of the hobby, and depending on what you like, maybe you're just too focused on one specific thing, and that's gone away, and you're like, well, there's nothing now. Well, there's many other things, but maybe if you're too focused, you're losing the view of there's still stuff out there. Combine that with the fact that, like this week, I saw three posts, one on the shortwave group, two on another group that I actually follow that pretty much never interfere with. Um, on this group, somebody saying WRNO still on after somebody posted a reception of WRNO. The other groups, one said, what do you mean the BBC World Service on shortwave? They left a long time ago. No, they haven't left. They haven't left. They're broadcasting to other areas, so it's more difficult to hear, but they're not gone. And the last one was someone saying there's no more European countries broadcasting to the world. And somebody came back and said, well, there's kind of Romania and France, and the BBC is still there from the UK. And if you had certain relays, Radio Prague, Radio Slovakia, 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 Slovakia. That sounds like another country. Slovakia. We had, and anyways, the people were just like, no, there's still lots of broadcasts that you can hear, Voice of Turkey and so on. And the guy came back and says, really, they're on shortwave? It's like, yeah, they are. They are. I think what gives the impression of an empty band, of emptiness in the shortwave spectrum, and probably countries leaving, is the fact that we hear countries leaving from time to time. And what happens is that people have the impression that because they're not hearing a station anymore, it must have gone. Um, and maybe even more than that is like when someone, like when the BBC left North America as a target, some people just got it as, oh, they're leaving shortwave. No, they're leaving broadcast in North America. They're not leaving shortwave. BBC is still one of the biggest, if not the biggest, shortwave broadcaster around. Which America is still on. I hear and I see from time to time people posting, well, the good old days of Voice America. It's still there. Maybe you should listen to the bands a little more. And I get it where people might not understand why they are still there or if they are still there. And one of the reasons is the fact that the noise level is so high, and you have stations targeting other areas, making the signals weaker. So put one and one together, and yeah, I'm not hearing anything. Yeah. Once again, I say it all the time. If the noise level would be removed from our homes, even in North America, the radio would light up with signals because there's still a lot out there. It's just that the noise is too high, blocking a lot of it. And I see it all the time. When in the summertime I do my walk in the park videos, when I go and to Perry Island the expeditions and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? There's so much, but I just don't hear it at home or hear very little of it at home. And that gives an impression of there's nothing on shortwave. When in reality, there's a lot more than that. So beautiful chat room. And when that is over, if you want to continue having fun with everyone, Facebook group, fantastic little place where you can share with others and share your, you know, radios, what you listen to, videos of what you're listening to, your Radio Shack, what it looks like, even if it's one radio, it doesn't matter. We don't. It's not a contest here. Whatever you use, I rather have, and I say it all the time. I rather have someone who has one radio that he uses every day than somebody who has a $10,000 radio on a shelf, never turns it on. What's why? Why? You should turn it on and you should do stuff and be proactive. The shortwave hobby is to a point where now, yeah, you might not be listening from your living room, but you might be hearing a lot of stuff, interesting stuff, if you move on to a park or go away from, the homes and the businesses and the buildings around you. And suddenly it's like, wow, radio comes alive with a lot of stuff. It's just that you might have to make an effort that you didn't have to do before. In the 80s, you know, you'd be in your basement and you'd hear tons of shortwave radios. So shortwave, radio stations. Today, you might not hear much more than interference because of all the electronics around us. It's a changing hobby, and it's a challenging hobby today, much more than before. So, saying hello to everybody. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado. VA3JPX from Ontario. Charlie McKee, VE2XCC from just west of Quebec City. We have Jeff King. Nice to have you on board from Jacksonville, Florida. Bobby Burgess, WA5107SWL from Louisiana. Nice to have you here. John Hummel Newell, nice to have you on board, my friend. We have Jeff King saying that if y'all know, some of y'all know the KAAYAM Little Rock, Arkansas. Sorry, will be going 50,000 watt nights to 80 watt nights. Coverage map shows 0.1 16th coverage of Little Rock. Man, 80 watts from 50,000 to 80 watts. Why is that happening? Is there some kind of change in the AM band plan? Or are they just, interfering with somebody? Robert Cross, nice to have you on board, my friend. Dwayne, nice to have you here. 56 degrees and clear in Northeast Tennessee. John Beckham, nice to have you on board from Northeast Florida. Shelley, South Central Pennsylvania, nice to have you here. James Farley, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Just ordered the Mescool 4-band pocket radio on Amazon for $10. Well, give us some news of what that performs and what it looks like. Randall Clons, Northeast Illinois, nice to have you here. Mike WX50, Nice to have you on board. TVDXer, salut, ça va bien, j'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Nice to have you here from not very far from Montreal. John Beckham, nice to have you here. Mad Max 2069. We have My Jam from New Hampshire. We have Anthony Franz from Florida. We have DJW883 from Pennsylvania. Nathan Phillips Connors from New York. Beginner. So my beginner radio came in today, and I'm excited to follow along and learn a thing or two. Cool. Dosenlof, nice to have you here from Alabama. Lasim, nice to have you on board. Where are you located, my friend? Keegan, XN80Xer, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. What do we have? So Mike WX50 for Northwest Arkansas. Also, we have VA3JPX is from Ottawa. And John Hummel Newell is from Saskatchewan, which is where it's cold. Where here it's plus 3 degrees Celsius. So roughly about 38, 39 Fahrenheit. Barry, nice to have you on board from Central Kentucky. We have Thomas Olson. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Tech Guy, hello there. Nice to have you here. John Beckham, be safe, as those winds can be destructive indeed. Yeah, I was looking at my discount, particularly with the big whip, which is bending over quite a lot. It's like, whoa, okay. Christian Marcoux, salut, bonsoir. Nice to have you here from North Bay, Ontario. It is extremely windy. And no, the MLA 30 is not what I'm scared of, because that one, it's so thin that the MLA 30 has very little reaction to the wind. But what is more of a problem, I would say, is the Tram 1411 discount. That is much more a heavy body. And with the whip on top, I've been looking at it. It's like, whoa, it's been really going back and forth and bending with the wind a lot. Richard, nice to have you on board, my friend. Mike WX50, the wind is strong here in North to West Arkansas too. Lots of trash cans turned over. Actually, today is tomorrow morning is the time for the recycling and the trash. And a lot of people have put their recycling and trash outside. All afternoon, I've been looking at recycling bags going through with the wind on the streets. It's like, well, okay. A lot of recycling going to be somewhere else. William Helms, nice to have you on board from Florida. It's always nice to have everybody here as usual. As usual. What else do we have? What else do we have? Try to catch up here, and especially catch up where I was. Got to really take that. There we go. It's been like a huge move of. So okay, here I am. So William Helms, nice to have you on board. David KJ4 CMY, nice to have you on board from Central Georgia. Chris G7 VEO from the UK. Beam C Bike, nice to have you here from Switzerland. Well, I am trying to. I'm not like dedicated to learning Morse code yet, but I am. Every time I hear Morse code or I hear something, I'm trying to focus on, getting it by ear without help of anything. So I'm halfway there. I mean, I'm not zero, because I do get a lot of the letters, and when I hear them, it's like it comes in clear. But I do need to continue studying. 0 KD2ANN. We have Andy New. Nice to have you on board. And Gilles Barbe. Man, nice to have you here. M7CUN from UK. Um, Mad Radio DXer, nice to have you on board, my friend from the UK. John Beckham, enjoyed your videos regarding tuning 1711 to 5000 megahertz, kilohertz, when what to expect to receive. Yep, and there's going to be more. I'm going to do the other frequency ranges also as time permits. And I will do them with different radios because what I understand. So I got a message from one viewer that has a Texan H501X. And he says, you know what? I observed how you use a Texan H501X under your videos, and you made me understand so much more than what I knew just by tuning around the spectrum. And I know that a lot of people have like, Texan PL330 and so on. So I was thinking I'll do the same videos, even though it will repeat somehow what's there to listen to. The fact that I'm using a different radio will also show the people with that radio how I operate it and the buttons that I press. And every time I press a button or I do something, I always explain, well, I do this, do that, and I press that button because of this reason or that reason. And I think it helps a lot of people having a hands on experience of, okay, that's how you use the radio, and these are what the buttons are for. Because it's easy for us old timers to kind of look at it and say, well, I don't understand what a guy doesn't understand how to tune a single sideband. And I look at myself when I started listening to shortwave, and I'm like, no, I totally understand how hard it can be to tune single sideband when you never did it in the past. So, I think it's going to be cool for this. Um, Joe, nice to have you here from Rochester, New York. James, nice to have you on board with a balmy 35 degrees in Connecticut. Time to put on the bathing suit and go out with the radio and freeze. Mad Radio DX are windy over there also. Yeah, here it's going to be kind of we're going to have a mix of crap here. We're going to have rain, some ice storms, snowstorms, everything mixed together. We're going to have like temperatures going up to like 7, 8, 9 degrees Celsius tomorrow. Then it's going to drop to minus 15. And it's like a hell of a week coming ahead with all sorts of weird weather. Greg, nice to have you here. And he's thinking about the Texan H501X. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Chuck, nice to have you here from Minneapolis. Barry agrees with whatever I was saying about how radio is fantastic. What else do we have? Mike Jam says, I'm loving the band scan videos. A lot of people are enjoying those, I know. So there's going to be a lot more. And like I said, with different radios also. So you'll have the feel of the same band scans with all sorts of radios, Jeff King, call me an idiot. I'll be an idiot as long as I have my radio. Well, if somebody says you're an idiot because you own a radio, I'll be an idiot for the rest of my life. I have no problem with that. By the way, just before we continue, I will check the email because it's always what I forget. And I know people are checking in from here. Through email, we have Elizabeth saying, hello. I am here watching a little late, arrived 15 minutes late. I enjoy listening to the show, and I would like to thank you for what you do. And she says that at one point in one of my live shows a few months ago, I talked about how people with disabilities have pleasure in listening to their radios. She says, as some of you may know, I am blind. I've been blind since I was born. And radio is fantastic because it lets you travel through the world. It lets you travel through stories of different personalities and different people. It lets you dream of all sorts of circumstances. And she says, I am truly blessed that somebody, when I was young, introduced me to shortwave radio, where I could listen to the world, even though I could not see it. I have the impression of knowing more than a lot of people that can actually see the world. Thank you for all you do. Although I do not watch, of course, because of my disability, listening is good enough. And she says, the only thing that came to my mind through the years of listening to your live shows is wondering what you look like. Could you describe a little bit what type of man you are physically, especially with your face? Do you have a beard? And just out of curiosity, wow, that's an interesting. Okay, well, so are you trying to get a date here, Elizabeth? So yeah, no problem. So I'm kind of average build, maybe a little more than average build. I do have big shoulders. Did a lot of sports earlier. I do have a beard, and I've got glasses. So if all of that ever kind of gives you a mental picture of something, I don't know, but well, that's pretty much what you know, average guy, average guy. So it's nice to have you here, and truly the shortwave hobby is amazing, and radio in general is amazing, and especially when you're blind, I think radio is cool because it's what drives your world. You can't see it, but you definitely can hear it and hear what's happening, and try to make yourself some kind of story and image in your head if possible. I had a long time ago, somebody that was watching, not watching, listening to the show, came up to me in an email and said, "You know what? I find it cool because that person had actually had vision for a big part of her of his life, and lost because of macular degeneration, and basically was pretty much blind now." But he was explaining how listening to radio and listening to a show like this and all of that, could use the images that he still remembers from when he would actually have his vision, and kind of make some kind of image in his head of how it must be, and so on. So, Elizabeth, nice to have you here. And well, if you want to have a date, joking. It's nice to have you on board. Um, we have Richard Lemke. Nice to have you here from St. Albert, Alberta. Says Radio Emmett Talk was an excellent experience, and is looking at the Olympics, of course. And nice to have you on board. It says -12, -13 Celsius. And pretty cool to have you on board as usual. What else do we have? So that's it for the emails that we have here. So it's kind of cool. Kind of cool to see that um, people are. We were talking about amateur radio. How amateur radio for blind people, it's kind of cool because it brings them to a regular world where you talk with other folks and you have interaction with people, and without necessarily being a problem, because for everybody, it's not a problem for everybody, but sometimes people with disabilities have kind of this little fear of meeting people because of the way that people often react. And we were talking, I remember we talked here a long time ago, where for some reason when somebody's in a wheelchair, it's like they're mentally challenged, but it's like it has nothing to do with that, because you're in a wheelchair, you physically has something wrong, but it doesn't mean you're, and we get that a lot from people on wheelchairs. It's like, well, people, treat me like I'm some kind of mental patient or something. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's for some people in their mind, it just kind of goes together. But no, that doesn't mean anything. If you can't walk, you don't necessarily have other challenges. You just can't walk. And amateur radio and radio in general, but amateur radio is a great hobby for that because nobody sees you. Nobody knows. It's like chatting. I think the internet, people that are chatting on the internet and stuff like that, is an interesting side for that also. Is that people that might not have gone to a group of to talk in person and be there. Well, now they can still do it, and nobody has any, you know, they don't judge you because they don't see you. And I think there's positive sides to stuff like that. Radio is great for people that, not just blind people, but people that just can't move on to something else. Maybe they're disabled for some reason. They're in a wheelchair, whatever. TV and the internet. And so remember one of my clients, a nice little lady that was in a wheelchair, and I would go and fix her computers when things weren't working right. And I remember she telling me, I like the internet because I can't really, the way I all the what I need, and the way I am, it's difficult. And she didn't have a lot of money. She says, well, the internet makes me travel to countries. I will type a country and I will look and read on the country and see pictures on my computer screen. And she says it's like traveling. And thanks to the internet, I can do it, because without the internet, it's more difficult. You have books and everything, but the internet adds another dimension to all of this. So, anyways, Ian, nice to have you on board from New York. And he says, out for a cold sunset. Chuck Davis, nice to have you on board. If it wasn't for radio, there is no internet. Yeah, pretty much, because a lot of it is, William Helms, fireplace on the screen is cool. Yeah, that's my firewall. Nostalgia, so nostalgic, David. Metal Lunar, nice to have you here. I'll try to catch up here because I'm very far behind. I'm like half an hour behind now. Andy New, nice to have you on board. Ricky KK7BAU, nice to have you on board. Darren Rogers, nice to have you here. Mad Reader DXer says, I had a comment on one of my videos this week calling me a racist because I said I received Macedonia instead of North Macedonia. People, yeah, sometimes it's like, are too sensitive of little details. Bent Toys, nice to have you on board from North Bay, Ontario. I'm a shortwave god. Gary Pence, nice to have you here from Dallas, KM5X. Pretty cool. Doug Smith, nice to have you on board. Always nice to have you here. John Beckham says, I think that we might see shortwave radio broadcasting as getting more accurate and reliable news out to its listeners. MDK2, listening to Voice of Greece on 9420. Signal isn't great, but I might as well get as much as I can while I know it's there to be had. Yeah, that's what we do very often. Greg, what do you think about me getting a Texan H501X? Go for it, man. If you can afford it, and it's fine, you're going to have a great radio. Hank Parr, nice to have you here from Los Angeles. Carl Icon, New York, standing by. Nice to have you here. We have Beam C Bike. Made me going back to school to make my license this year. I'm 65 and appreciate your work for shortwave. Keep on going strong. You know what? Go for it, man. Go for it. RJ88 Dakota, nice to have you here. WA0113 SWL. And what else we have? What else we have? My camera is not on focus. You probably have low. Check your YouTube resolution because here it's fine. Chuck Davis, radio, the original social media. Art, nice to have you here from New Jersey, K2ADC. John Beckham, the topic tonight reminds me a little of the days of VOA attempting to get the truth over the Iron Curtain. Andy New, good point, well made, Joe. BBC is still guilty of this. Moral is to do your own research. The last 2 years is proof of this. Yeah, and do your research with multiple different sources, not one or two. That's the worst part. I think too many people are focused on one source and thinking that's the truth. Greg, if you get the Texan H501X, don't get it on Amazon. Get it through Anonco, Anonco. That's the best place. You're going to get it fast, and that's the best price available. John, nice to have you on board from beautiful uh, British Columbia, milepost 45, Alaska Highway. Okay. What else do we have? John Beckham, shortwave radio most likely could soon be going through a renaissance, which it can offer both sides of the news to speak. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jay Watterson, 69, nice to have you on board. Mike WX50, realizing how little I know is the key for me to continue to try to learn more and have an open mind to new ideas. Yep. V3JPX, feel free to add me as a moderator if you like. Yeah, why not? Here we go. Here we go. Moderator. V3JPX, I haven't had in moderators in a while. John Luheid, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Chris G7VEO can speak to AMs around the world to get different views on things, or just ask Paul the Cat. Paul the Cat has views for everything. Luis Giliberto, BBC is a fun catch now. I have to work to get it, but to me, that's part of the fun. And there's a lot of stuff to listen to. There's a lot of stuff to listen to. Yeah, just to save money, which is kind of thinking of l- diminishing the output of your voice on radio and TV just because you're going to save money is kind of very weird at the same time thinking about it. Thinking of news and viewpoints as something that has to do with money. Um No problem, Keegan. I saw that it was okay with our friend here, but it happens to all of us. What else do we have? John Beckham always used to enjoy listening to the BBC World Service back in the 70s and 80s when they broadcast in North America. Yep. I still listen. Before the show started, and this is my listening experience while I'm eating or cooking food around 6 p.m. From 6 to 7 p.m. here, local time. I hear, of course, 107.9 FM, the WVPS station out in Burlington, Vermont. And I have, of course, an HD radio in my kitchen, so I get it in HD. And of course, I listen to that hour because they have a lot of interesting stuff about U.S. news and economy and stuff. But when we reach 7 p.m., now today was live show, but sometimes I'll be in the kitchen doing other stuff, and I on the HD radio on HD3, I can actually get the BBC World Service because they have a 24-hour stream of it. So I often like go through, WVPS, the NPR station, and BBC, and listen to stuff there. It's very interesting. There's a lot of things that are interesting. I'm trying to remember one thing that I heard this week on the BBC that was just so interesting, and I totally forgot. There's a broadcast about something in the past that I didn't know about and that they talked about. It was really cool. Anyways, listening to different stations and viewpoints is the best to have. I think a relatively good opinion and idea of the world around us, which is getting more and more complex, honestly. Robert Cross, there was nights I could pick up Radio Caroline. My dad said Radio Caroline a long time ago. They were pirate station. Yep, absolutely. It was one of the very well known pirate voices of the past. What else do we have? James, I listened to a English Cuban broadcast Cuba last night. Came so clear, I thought it was local station. Yep, Radio Havana, Cuba often comes in very well up here. Tony Exer, WPE2QED from the Hudson Valley, New York. We have Jay Watterson, Viva la Dijon DE13. George Lewandowski, nice to have you here from Houston, Texas, K5JIN. Rick, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. I'm catching up, guys. I'm catching up. Give me time. Chuck Davis, Radio Someone Still Loves You. Yep, I love that song, Radio Gaga. It is an amazing song. Alan H, nice to have you on board from California. XH Data D808 and a length of stripped and wire. Perfect setup. Leon, nice to have you here. KE7CHX in Arizona. Frank Ireland from Venice, Florida. So, did you get that Chinese radio, my Chinese Malahit charging? Paul Sanders, nice to have you here from Goose Bay. Canadian Radio TV guy, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta. Nice to have you on board. How's that ham radio lesson going? Hope that is going well for you. Okay. Check it out here. Brad, nice to have you here. N5 LUL, WA5192 is WL. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Rufus Newt from Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Paul, VT Radio in Essex Junction, Vermont. Very windy here, too. We're having the same conditions. And you had strong signal from Romania earlier on 7220. John Beckham says, I will wait for you to demonstrate the XH Data D808 tuning frequencies as I have to see it on. You know what, John? I'll put that radio, the D808 will be the next one. I will do the same scans and show you how I deal with the radio itself as I tune around. So that's going to be the next radio, D808. Anyways, it's a popular model that a lot of people have, so I think it's important. So I'll do probably the D808. I'll do the Texan PL330 maybe next. And anyways, go through the radios and tune around as you guys will see the differences. Everybody saying hello to Elizabeth. Kevin, nice to have you here. I think the scan videos are very helpful. Just knowing the selection of lower and upper when tuning on SSB. Yeah, kind of giving the idea of how I tune and how to tune and what's what also, because what comes up is when you got a radio in your hand is where do I tune for whatever I want to listen to. So these videos have a great sign to them is because they explain to you guys not only how the radio operates if you have the same radio because you see me operating, but also what is there to listen to and what mode to use to listen to those things. So, Christian Marcoux, those videos you recently made are great. I always wanted to see exactly how the pro does it. You don't go with that. How the pro does it. Think about more of this is how it is done according to the way I do it. And I think different people do it different ways. I do it with my experience and my knowledge of the bands and what's up there. But it's at least it kind of shows you guys how to tune around and what's in the different ranges and so on. So more coming up. Tomorrow I'll have a lot of time, so tomorrow there might be quite a few videos like that posted. I'll continue with the H501 for tomorrow probably, but XH data D808, Texan PL330, TX Texan PL990, St. Gian's ATS 909, 909X, 909X2, the Ethon Gredig satellite executives for SSB, stuff like that. Some Texans like the Texan PL 600, 680, and more. And of course, I'll probably have a couple of big gun radios like the ICOM ICR 8500 and the Kenwood R5000. Let's add that to the lot of radios, and I think that you guys are going to be enjoying that. Chris Alpha Tango, nice to have you on board. Says 20 and 40 meter action today was nice. Can't wait for 10 6 meter activity. 10's been open almost every day for the past month. By the way, guys, there's been a amazingly big explosion on the sun on the far side. If you go to spaceweather.com, you'll see how impressive that was. I haven't seen anybody mention of what they think that explosion, how big it was. For me, it looks like a major X flare happened on the other side of the sun. But they were saying that if that, just by seeing the coronal mass ejection going away, if that had been Earth directed, we would have been in a major geomagnetic storm right now. So that tells us, and we're early in the solar cycle. So things are going to be interesting ahead for sure. Anthony, absolutely beautiful email, Elizabeth. George, they're on the Bandscan vids, great stuff. Ordered the H501 today. Enjoyed the channel, Jill. Also got to send my ATS 909X in for repairs. What kind of problem does it have? What I would do with an ATS 909X is I would contact St. Gian itself and ask them about repairs and what to do, because local shops will not repair that. And we're getting into a time and a moment where it's very difficult to find a shop that would even touch a radio, honestly. I like the description of Skip. Let's have you here, Skip, N2EI. So, Elizabeth, if you ever have in your mind some kind of idea what an Amish man might look like, Skip, I think, has it perfectly. I look like a deranged Amish man. So next time I'm gonna come on a carriage with a horse with a hand crank radio and solar radios, and that's the only thing I'm going to use because I'm Amish now. Oh God. What else do we have? Mark Jagger, nice to have you here. Love the scan videos too. Some radio has my H51X, so seem more personal. Yeah, because there's nothing like having the radio that you've got to do the stuff like that, to do tuning around, scanning your bands. Because now you can follow with the same radio. I totally get it, and it's you follow with the same radio. You could you know that you're going to press the same buttons, and as I explain and talk about it, you know you can do the same thing. It's not like tuning around with one radio and you've got a different radio. So on my radio, I should, how can I do that on my radio? What's the button I got to press to get that feature if it's available? So it's definitely more personal because you do it with the same radio you already have. So that's why we're going to do it with several different radios. I mean, the views have been pretty good on those. I see that the people are like, everybody's like, "Oh, this is cool. I want this for sure." Uh, my WX50. I always describe myself as a better looking George Clooney. Oh man. Um, Brad, we were born this way. Yes, we were. Jesse Erickson, nice to have you here from Minnesota. Um, any news on where to buy a DRM receiver, ST2KI? Look, these are dreadfully difficult to find. I know Texan has one, apparently, but I haven't seen anyone buy it, and it's very, very expensive. And like there's nothing. The best for DRM, I think, is an SDR and software on your computer, Dream software, and try that. Because for now, nothing. Keegan, there was a 1010 in Little Rock, KLRA, purchased by Westinghouse, the owners of WINS New York, also on 1010. They got KLRA to shut them down for what WINS from what I heard. Oh wow, because of competition on 1010. John Beckham likes the Texan PL398, which is a shortwave receiver with MP3 player, stereo on FM, of course. Barry had a friend with his blind and had a lot of gadgets to aim him as his today day-to-day life. CB radio talked to him with a female digital emulated voice. Yeah, I know that Elizabeth has the voice synthesizer for the Kenwood 5000. So when she goes through the frequencies, the radio can actually tell her what frequency she's tuned to, which is really nice. Unfortunately, not enough radios have that today. It's we complain of different things about radios all the time, but one of the things I complain is, and I think the Texan PL398 is a great example. Why aren't all radios equipped with a lighted keyboard? It makes it so easy to tune around when it's dark or there's not a lot of light around us. The other thing is, voice synthesizers should be they cost nothing today the way they are. They should be implemented on every device so everybody could use them. And why not add bright keypads that you can just focus, and it's like what button you're pressing if you're blind, for example. Oh man. Frank Ireland used to be director of quality at a company that makes equipment for blind, low vision. Many are hams and shortwave listeners. Company was Freedom Scientific, now called Vispero. Oh, interesting. Alan, still trying to master listening to single sideband, and you're not alone. Any new Elizabeth? He looks like Black Black Jack Shellac. Oh man. John Beckham. I really enjoy DXing ham radio operating and lowers upper sideband capabilities paramount because there's more than just AM ham transmitting over the bands. Yep, absolutely. Bubba Seattle. Anyone here from HF Underground? Well, I am registered and I sometimes participate. Mixed Radio International. Welcome aboard, my friend. Alan is 67 tomorrow. Well, happy birthday. Still young. Still young. Gotta hit that 100. Then you'll be old. And then we'll all be young because if we all hit 100, we're young. Joe Rodman, nice to have you here from Chicago. VA3JPX, congratulations. Jetcrafter, nice to have you on board from Southern Maine. George J. McCall, nice to have you here from Las Vegas, Nevada. We have Andy New. I'm 68 and got my foundation license. You're never too old. Nope, never, never, never. Christian Marcoux, I heard there's someone else here from Nord Bay. Yeah, there was another one. Ben Toys, something like that. So Christian Marcoux is also from Nord Bay, Ontario. John Beckham, who on the live shortwave radio stream here owns any radios from Reticus, as I find some of their products very nice. I have a couple of Reticus. I've got the one that is the elderly radio, the TR6, and I forget the model number. I see it down there, but the TR618, I think it is. They got some. You got to be careful with the Reticus. Reticus is a hit or miss situation. They could be nice, they could be crap, you know? Um, Keegan is using the Ethan Grenick Edition Field BT radio and the Ethan Grenick Edition satellite with SSB with internal and W6LVP loop. I Station Z remembers the DX100 in New York City elevator. Took him a year to find it. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let me see what I can. We go down, we go down, we go down. Try to catch up. If I haven't said hello, just say hello again, my friends, please. I just don't want to miss out on anyone. Greg, put on a 49-meter band, talk radio on medium wave, but on shortwave. I don't understand. Oh, 6070 and 1010. Yeah, CFRX on 6070, which is the 1010 CFRB Toronto. Yep. Chris, G7 VEO Radio Counterline is legal now on 648 kilohertz with 1 kilowatt of power. Joe Tyson, nice to have you here from Apex, North Carolina, KM4WRQ. Scott Belcher, nice to have you on board. Loving the videos of the scans you're doing. More coming up, guys. You're going to see. John Beckham, I am psyched about all of the various shortwave radio models that you will be doing a tutorial on. Oh, there's going to be a lot of them. I'm just looking at, because I'm reorganizing the shelves here. So I'm going to show you quickly. So there's the big radios there, right here. Whoops, right here. This is a ghost that I haven't removed from last year's Halloween. And down, because that here is a printer. So that's my printer. This is going to move on. This is going to move away. I'm going to put that somewhere else. There are going to be radios here too. And of course, the radios down there, which are the shelves down there. So I'm slowly like moving things over back to a nice big shelf of radio here, because I got a lot more radios to put there. And even the big radios that you've seen, there's a lot of the big radios that are hidden because big radios hide each other. It's not like the small ones at the bottom. So there's going to be a lot of scanning with different radios. I'm going to try to cover, I think it's going to be fun because trying to cover the majority of radios that everybody owns is going to be a cool thing. Because anyone, whatever radio you own, has a chance of having videos with their own radios. And that's going to be great, I think. Rick Dorn, nice to have you here from Ohio River. Worked for a lot of stations in Europe on 11 meters today. Cool. That's cool. What else do we have? Yeah, Barry. Sometimes it's because the YouTube doesn't go up to HD when you're actually doing it. So if it stays down to 480p or something like that, looks blurry because it doesn't have all the information. Okay. Matt, MDK2 is on HF Underground. He often posts too. I see a lot of the posts actually Matt, so many times I go to HF Underground to see what are the different pirate stations, and so many times you're the one that started the, the list of that listing of a station or something. It's like it's just it's fun to see that. Pretty active. Okay. What else do we have? Dave Conte, I'm blind and find the R108 to be fairly easy to use because I count the DSP clips. DSP clicks. Okay. Okay. There's like the Texan PL990. There's like a dot on the 5, kind of trying probably to make it easier to know when you're in the middle of the keypad or something. Zen Farros finally got out of work meeting, but am following along on SDR No and stock U-loop. And a U-loop, I have replaced the phase inverter with a breakout so I can test different connections. Zen Farros following with a glass of milk, which is perfect. Honestly, perfect. Dimitri, nice to have you on board, my friend. Dave Conte, I ordered the PL3880, and I think I might have made a mistake. I don't believe it has a DSP clicks, right? The 880 is a DSP radio, but has no muting. So it doesn't mute when you tune around. David says, welcome to Shell's Radio Museum. Yeah, pretty much. Jetcrafter, anyone know who is on 6030 now? It is Radio Marti on 6030. It was very strong in general in Spanish. Canadian Radio TV guy, what's the circuit board with the ferret antenna and the big ass capacitor? Is that a radio you're working on? The circuit board. Oh, did you mean that here? That's a I'm gonna take it out. So I had a little bit of time a couple of years ago, and I like whatever it is. I like building little circuit boards. So this is actually a AM radio that is sold by Elenco, and it is great if you have somebody that you want them to learn a little more about electronics and radio in general. They have an AM FM one, they have an AM radio, they have several radios that you can build. So of course you build them and you have to solder everything on. And so this is an AM radio actually, and it works if the battery's not dead. So I don't know if the battery's dead. I think the battery's dead. Let me just check it out here. I think I need to change the battery because it doesn't turn on right now, but it does work. It is a AM radio that I've been using, so it's pretty nice and works really great actually. And what's really nice, if you actually have one of the Elenco, and they're not very expensive on Amazon, by the way. If you have one of those Elenco receivers, the explanation, the manual that comes with it explains all the basics of how radio works, and it's very, very, very well done. So if you want to have your somebody, oh, here it goes. The connection was not right. So here we go. Oh no. Oh, it's because just go here. It's the volume that's scratchy, I think.
Make his teammates better, but the strength of the Celtics, right? Le 104, le chemin Saint-Jean.
A lot of interference coming from the computer. Okay, it'll be now.
Teams are going to make life extremely difficult in the Eastern Conference. It's going to be a fun Eastern Conference playoffs to watch.
How you consuming the latest round of LeBron James
That's
hate?
690.
People accusing him of attempting himself to the LA Rams victory.
See you in the morning. Tomorrow's a new day. No matter how you say it, someone to say goodnight can go a long way right now. So before you
So this is an AM radio. Works well. And lots of really cool instructions with it and explanations of how, the radio theory, how radio works and receives signals and so on. And not expensive. So if you have anybody in your surroundings, any kid, even an adult that kind of finds it cool, all they need is a soldering gun. Everything is included in there, even the solder. All you need is the soldering gun, and that's it. And all the rest is there. So if that's what you were talking about, Canadian radio TV guy. Yeah, it looks like a big capacitor. It's a tuning knob. I thought about it when I saw the tuning knob. I was like, oh, maybe he thinks that's the capacitor. Yeah. No, it's not Cuba. 6030 is Radio Marti from the United States. Radio Cuba is on 6000. Metalunar, something fun that I didn't know about until recently. Most smartphones that still have a headphone jack can receive FM broadcasts until an app called Next Radio. Using an app called Next Radio, the headphone wires in the antenna. Yeah, there's a lot of those that actually do. A lot of those also. There's a lot that actually also do, but don't have they just didn't turn on, because if the phone company or the maker of the phone didn't turn on the chip, it doesn't work. So a lot of the phones that have an FM chip in them have not been turned on, and there's a lot of phones that don't have it too. Icon Clinton Fox posted his ham solder report from South America on the Facebook page. Does that report apply to North America also? Icon, it's a very general report, and you have to not take that as an absolute, proof of how conditions are. The best way to know conditions is really to tune around. You can use these tools to have an idea or a general idea of what conditions might be, but you're better off finding yourself some what I call beacons, propagation beacons, which is go through the bands regularly and take note of all the signals that you hear almost all the time, be it from North America, from Europe, different parts of the world that that you get on regularly. And when you want to know when propagation is good to a certain area, tune those stations that you have noted down. So, for example, and if you want to have my example of what I tune, so I'll check CHU in Ottawa, I'll check WWV in Colorado, I'll check the European stations that give the weather, like 5450, 5505, or earlier in the day, like 11253. I'll check for broadcast stations that I know they're always there. So WWCR 15825, or some that are further away, weaker, but I know that I'll get pretty much all the time. Voice of America 15580. I will check FT8. FT8, even if you don't like FT8, FT8 has one great thing in the amateur bands, is that it is an amazing indication of propagation, and see if the band's open. You want to know 10 meters open? Go to 28074. You hear FT8? 10 meters open. So the FT8 is a great, great, great indication for that also. So there's a lot of little things like that. John Beckham, I'm still intrigued with the ATS 25, perhaps because it is so colorful in its display layout. Yeah, there's something about it. I know. I feel the same. Sorry, guys. I feel the same. I got mine here, which is always ready to work. It's actually plugged in right now. So, same here. So here, like it's on the Canadian Marine Weather broadcast right now on 2749. So this is 2749. It definitely looks cool. Actually, I have enough wire to bring it here. Look at that. So, there are things like that I got to say, I don't know. I also am a little kind of, I don't know, there's something about it. It's maybe just a colorful display. I don't know. And the fact that it's just kind of a SDR if you want, because even though it doesn't have the waterfall and everything, it is computerized. It's an Arduino. Um, okay, where am I? It's 8:15 there, so I'm not very far down. Okay, TV guy. Yeah, it looked like a capacitor, for sure. V3. Whoops, I'm gonna go up a little bit here for a second. So yep, yeah, that looked like a distance, like a big capacitor, absolutely. And that's what I thought when I saw it, because the only thing that had the circuit board was that. I have the AM/FM radio here, but it's still in the bag with its all the parts. I've never built it yet. I need to build it. Finding time to do stuff is difficult for me right now, so I got to maybe I need to manage my spare time a little differently. I don't know. TBD Extra, that is so cool. What else we have? Steven, nice to have you here. M0. What is that? M00 GUP or just M0 GUP? Nice to have you here from the UK. Nice to have you on board. Brad, my little flip phone receives FM. Mine that received was the S7 that I have over here on the desk does. My S20 does not. David McCormick, nice to have you here. Barry, I have LG Phoenix 4 Android phone, receives FM. The radio is only as good as the headphones. Yep, because the headphones are the antenna. On all of these phones, the headphone is really the antenna, the headphones that you're using. Steven says people are getting Radio Havana and 6,000, 6,060 frequency. 6,000 and 6,060 is Radio Havana Cuba. 6,030 is Radio Mark T. Scooter Cranes, would you ever get an ICOM R8600? You know what? When it was launched, I found that it was a cool radio. Would I get one? I'm not sure. Honestly, it's expensive, and I would not. I would rather probably, if I had that kind of money, I would probably rather buy 10 different radios that people want me to show and use, including, the Russian Malahite receiver, the Belka, and stuff like that, and other portables that might come out, than buy an RR8600. For some reason, I have passed that time where a desktop receiver is a must get radio because they are always superior. I am more into the more I test out. I got a Kenwood R5000 and I've got a Icom ICR 8600 here, 8500, sorry. And I do not see a performance that is that much better or better than any of the portables that I have. I see a performance that is good, but they're expensive radios, and you're like, yeah, you know what? Today's technology is really advanced, and you don't need to pay $1,000 for a good radio today anymore. David McCormick got his shortwave certificate, WA8138 SWL. Woohoo! That is cool. I saw something here about Dimitri. If you learn to assemble the components on the main board and later you're able to repair later on. Yeah, also. Jetcrafter, what is the digital mode on US Air Force 4724 upper sideband right now? 4724. What do I have here? Let's check it out. Anything here? Oh, that sounds like radio teletype or Stanag from a Stanag, basically. It's not just Halifax. 2749, Stephen, is multiple stations. One in Halifax, one in Newfoundland. There's one in Quebec, Rivière-au-Renard. There are different multiple stations using the same frequency. It depends on the time you're listening to. Trenton 6754. I could try it, but 6754 is not usually not a winter frequency here. It's they're very weak, but it's more in the summertime. More in the summertime here. 13740 is Cuba also. It's Radio Havana, Cuba. 13740, Alan. David says, thanks for making shortwave fun again. Well, that's the idea here, honestly. John Beckham, how do you get a shortwave call letter address? You have to go to the SWARL website, which is, I always forget the website, but it's shortwave, SWARL. So here it goes. It's SWARL.org, actually. It's as simple as that. And you simply fill up the shortwave listening info that they ask you. And in a couple of weeks, you'll have that certificate with your call letters if you want. Mike Sherruman. What is your opinion on export radios like the President Lincoln? These are radios sold as 10, 12 meter ham, but can be modified to run 11. Since I don't have a lot of experience with those, I don't have much of an opinion, but President Lincoln is a well-known brand in CB radios, so it's President in general. So there could be a lot of stuff. It could be great. It could be good, honestly. What else? David, any idea who does the frequency sweeps? It seems to recall it was a military radio check for the best usable frequency. You can see it on SDR Waterfall as it sweeps. Yeah, there's a lot of them. It's Iona Sounds, and you can have a lot of information. If you Google Iona Sounds, there are different places in the United States, including universities, that have these sweepers that check out for the best frequencies to use. A lot of them are used by the U.S. Army, the U.S. Air Force, to know what are the best frequencies to transmit at a certain time. And you could see them, and that's the cool thing of an SDR. You can actually see them go through. Where in a regular analog radio, we hear the tweet go through, and that's it. But once you get an SDR and you see it go through the display, one of the fun things I do from time to time is I use my SDR Play RSPDX, and I put it like in like 10 megahertz spectrum, and I see one going through, and I could follow it through 10 megahertz of spectrum and see as it gets weaker as it reaches the maximum usable frequency. It's kind of cool to look at that. Lunar, why do you think medium wave became ubiquitous on all radios to this day and every car, but shortwave was only able on certain specialty radios despite its longer reach? That I think it has to do a lot with with money. First of all, the more you add features and frequency range to a radio, the more it costs. The other thing is that there's there's also the fact that people are more interested in general in local stuff. So it's like, you'll put medium wave or FM because people want to listen to their local stations. And shortwave, even at the time of the glory days of shortwave, honestly, um, in the glory days of shortwave, there weren't that many people listening to shortwave. Shortwave has always been kind of a little bit on that special side of radio. Um, a lot of people might have had at one point shortwave on their radios available, but very few people would go to the bands of shortwave to tune. They would stay on the FM or the AM band, or mostly the AM band. So I think it's a question of just what people want and used to do, plus the fact that, well, if not a lot of people request shortwave, why spend the extra money on a radio to have it, Bonsoir TVDXer, fais attention à toi. Et à samedi. I think that's a lot of it, honestly. Dimitri, 6180 is China radio. 6180 is China radio via Cuba. Kodar is a different thing. Iona Sounds is one thing. Kodar is a different thing. Kodar is the sweeps that you hear on. I'm just going to put one here. I'm going to go on the frequency range where there's Kodar. You guys are going to hear it and see what it sounds like. Here we go. This is what Kodar sounds like. Oops, wrong way. 4463. Here we go. That's Kodar. Which is an ocean radar, an ocean type radar. It can detect the height of ocean waves, the direction of ocean currents, and some stuff like that. Kimberly, K6YYL from California. Nice to have you here. Frank Ireland, first ham rig was a Unit and President 10-meter mobile. Were great. Doug Smith tried clipping two Sangean ATN ANT60 real antennas on my ATS 405 as an experiment, and it seemed to work on weak signals. Opinion. Well, it's mostly because when you add wires and you add more length to the antenna, you definitely have weaker signals come through. That's for sure. That's for sure. It's like clipping any type of wire, honestly. What else do we have? Yes, you are special people. Scott Cranston, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Jeff McLeod, Hone AirSpy Discovery and SDR Play RSPDX. And after a few months, I agree with your review, giving the edge to the SDR Play, but are great though. Where I would maybe put the edge on an AirSpy is in long wave, but honestly, I don't have much of a anything positive to add to the AirSpy, and its lack of very wide coverage for me is a problem. But they're great radios. I mean, they perform very well, both of them. Scott Branson, at least 2, maybe 3 different programs heard on RHC 6000 tonight, Radio Vena Cuba. I own a sound, yep, pretty much. Exactly, David. I own a sound. You will have, there are several websites that are dedicated to that, including, you're probably going to find one that is the University of, I think it's one of the US universities talking about it. Barry heard the buzzer 4625 in Kentucky. So let me check 4625 just out of curiosity if we hear it tonight. 4625. Anything? Oh, hearing it. Look at that. Not very strong, but it's there. Buzzer making it on 4625 here tonight. Pretty cool. Frank Ireland, the lack of knowledge about shortwave by the general public reminds me of the 1960s when people never knew about UHF TV stations they had access to. Yeah. People are very, very focused on a specific item, and moving them away from it and trying to show them another world, another way of tuning is something that is difficult sometimes. A majority of people don't know. And like I said, how many people add a radio with shortwave bands, SW1, SW2 on them? Never tried to hear what was in there. They just stuck to AM or FM, and that's it. And mostly AM on those radios most of the time. I remember going to an uncle had a radio, a multi-band radio, and he was listening to some AM radio station, local AM station in Quebec City, and he would never tune away from whatever frequency he was on. And I remember being there, and I said, "Oh, your radio receives shortwave," and the first thing that he did was that. I said, "Well, you can listen to stations from around the world." And he looked at me like, "Oh, okay." But never, there was like no curiosity, which is something that baffles me, honestly. When someone has a device that does a lot of things and isn't curious enough to try whatever else it could receive, I'm the opposite. And I'm probably you guys are the same when we talk about shortwave radio. I think our curiosity, we are different because we look at a dial and it's like, look at that, it has multiple different frequency ranges. I wonder what's there. That's me. And that's probably a lot of you also. You get that multi-band radio, it's like, oh, what's that? SW. Let's go explore what's in there. But I think we're a small subset of people that are in that world. The majority of people are stuck in, they listen to whatever they listen, and they never dare touch anything else in that range. It reminds me of when I was young. I was, my mom never listened to the FM band when I was a teenager. She would move on to the CBC French, to CKAC 730, and to CGMS 1280. Three stations. She would move from one to the other. But there was no FM. She would never go to the FM band. And I remember one of the radios we had when I was probably 10 or 11 had some other things on it, but I was not allowed to touch the radio. My mom forbid me to ever change whatever, probably because she didn't know or understand how to put it back if she was somewhere else. So I never really did anything. And then one day we had another radio, which I think was an alarm clock radio, like some kind of an alarm clock. And that was stuck on the 3 a.m. stations. And I was stuck on when I came a teenager, you want to listen to music, would listen to FM radio, of course, because all the music was there. But I would listen to music on the AM radio bands also. I mean, wow. If I had all the 4-track cassette tapes I ever recorded back then, there would be probably half of them with music recorded off of the AM band with the static. And I didn't care. I didn't care about the static. I wanted to listen to my favorite songs. And the fact that there was static over it and anything, I didn't care. I was listening to, my brain was kind of focused on listening to that song. And it's kind of almost if my brain was filtering out the noise. So, but a lot of people didn't really move on the dial. I mean, it's the same today. Anyone today listening to the radio, if we'd make a survey of what do you listen? Oh, my radio's on that. They would buy a radio that is fixed to one frequency, and they would like, oh, I want to have that radio with that frequency 'cause that's what I listen to, and I don't care about the rest. It's just crazy. It's just crazy, and it shows in different ways also. Me and Sheldon were talking about how the FM band in Montreal sounds the same on so many frequencies. I would put you on a frequency, have you listen to the music, change, you probably wouldn't even notice because it's the same music. Yet, one of them is like top notch on the most popular radio stations on FM for music, and the other one plays the same music and is at the bottom of the most, like, it's one of those stations no one listens to. And that is funny because you realize there's no on-air personalities or anything that pushes one radio over the other. It's the same darn format of music. Why is one so popular and the other one's not? Well, the only answer I've got for that is people stick to one frequency and just don't move that radio dial to anything else. So, it's weird. And I guess it goes with our curiosity. Maybe we're more curious than the average person, honestly. Honestly. Okay, let's check it out here. Frank, my mom was always ranting at me because when I would try to tune in before we had cable TV, I would play with the antennas and try to get channel 5, which was NBC, in New York, in state of New York, in Plattsburgh, New York. And the reason why, because Saturday morning I wanted to watch my cartoons. So by putting the antennas in a very funky like setup, I had a picture good enough to watch my Saturday morning cartoons. And my mom was like, "You're gonna break the TV." Yeah, like watching a station from far away is gonna break the TV. Come on, But if that was, you know, that was the thing. Yeah, there was a lot of things happening over the buzzer, David McCormick. There was voices. There's all sorts of things happening. Joe just started monitoring long wave, but not much luck finding non-directional beacons. Yeah, I don't think it's the MLA30 and the combination you have there, because I hear a lot of them here. Just to give you an example, okay? I got the MLA30 right now. Just to give you an idea, okay? I'm going to go on the long wave band here. Because if you're able to hear Navtex on 518 kilohertz, it's not necessarily the antenna. So here I'm on 407. Let's see if I get anything else here. These beacons are becoming more and more difficult to tune. See, I got one real weak here. 274. 272. So it gives you an idea. 272. Okay. I'm using an MLE30. So this is try to ZMR, I believe, is the Morse code here. So it gives you an idea. This gives you an idea that, first of all, I'm on 272 kilohertz and I'm hearing it on an MLA30. So even though it probably isn't the best antenna, and you might have better chances with maybe a long wire, a very long wire, it's good enough to receive some of them. And remember that non-directional beacons, if you're not turning that loop, okay, it's very directional on that frequency range, because non-directional beacons, most of them are local or not that far away. You'll have to rotate the MLA30 if you want to get some stuff. And last, don't forget, there are many regions in the United States where non-directional beacons, you don't hear any of them, or very, very little, unless your noise floor is extremely low. So it might not be the combination you have. It might be you live in an area where non-directional beacons are very, very difficult to get. Take care, Barry. Stay safe. John Beckham is dreaming of an MLA30. Oh, man. DJW883 getting the buzzer in Southeast Pennsylvania. Keegan, listen to a recording of the buzzer on YouTube once. Pitch went lower and the speed went slower, like a battery running down. There's all sorts of things happening with that for sure. David, KJ4CMY, I was jealous when my sister got a radio with FM before I did. My WX50, I was so curious about those mystery bands on multiband radios when I was a kid. Loved all of those strange signals with different languages. Got me hooked to shortwave listening. Yep. Pretty crazy. Anything else? Mickey Dalmage, and I say, have you here static over Duran? Yeah, nothing like that. Hey, I was listening to a station in Saint-Hyacinthe, which is, I don't know what, 40 miles away, that had a call-in show where people would ask for their favorite songs every night. and I would just hook to that, and I recorded "Stairway to Heaven" on the AM band. I remember on a cassette with all the static and everything. But I might have recorded some Duran Duran with static on it. Definitely. Oh God. The NPR station in Seattle breaking radios and Mazdas. I've not heard that story. No. All right, JD Dakota. I was always the first one to try tuning completely across the medium wave dial. Basically, learn from end to end what station was there. Yep. JJH. I'm using an MLA30 loop. Larry Gilmore. Been gone too long. Glad to be back. Nice to have you on board. And glad to be to see that you're great. Ottawa reminds me of one thing. VA3 JPX. When I would go up to La Conception, Quebec, where my dad had, actually made his the first shack we had up north, and over there was we were between mountains. There was nothing. The FM band was empty. It would have been a dream location for sporadic FM DXing, probably. But when I would, one day when I put up a wire for shortwave, when I would clip it to the radio, the FM, the boombox I had, I'd hear a rock station from Ottawa on the band. It was the only thing I could catch, but it was coming in perfectly clear on that long wire antenna that was in a tree. And when friends would come over, of course, you don't bore your friends with shortwave radio stuff. You just like, okay, let's have beer and listen to music. I tuned the Ottawa station, which was the only station I could get there when we would go up there. Yep, WPTZ, Plattsburgh, New York. Oh, man. No, we had to go through all the bands for sure. Skip, Bloomberg Financial used to give out pocket AM radios that only tuned the Bloomberg Radio New York frequency of 1130. Oh, really? Wow. That is like, hey, you want a radio? Oh, really? Yeah. It's like in North Korea. It's stuck on one station. Oh, God, I didn't know that. But you guys know, huh? I've got this is a piece of history here in Montreal. So, one of the very popular stations back in the 70s and part of the 80s here in Montreal was CKVL 850. My mom used to listen to that station a lot, and they had a contest, and I still remember the contest. No, I don't remember the contest. That was much further away than I did. My mom remembered the contest, and they were actually giving out tube receivers. And one day, my brother calls me because he knows my brother. My brother has zero interest in radio, but he knows that when there's radios to be had for cheap, that I'm the guy to call because I'm going to be there. So he's working downtown, and there's a church there. And on Thursdays, they have a kind of a flea market, if you want. And there's this old lady that has a table. And every week, for some reason, I don't know where she finds them, but she has some radio, a tube radio or an old transistor radio or whatever. So my brother calls me one day and tells me, "Oh, if you're interested, the old lady's back with there's a radio, a pink radio on her table. And I said, a pink radio. And he says, yeah, it looks old. Okay. So I go there and pops up this. This is a radio, an American 5 Fleetwood branded radio. But look at that, CKVL here. So the story behind this radio is that they had a contest in the 60s or something like that. And the lucky people would have a CKVL 850 branded or, radio. And I mean, it covers all the AM band, but they, of course, were happy to have the CKVL logo here. So I get there and the radio's there, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. It has CKVL, and I have no idea about the story behind all of it. All I hear is, oh, okay, apparently, this radio is one of the radios that people had and so on. And I'm like, well, okay. So I asked the lady how much for the radio. I'm expecting she's like, this is going to be $30 to $50, $40 or something. So she looked at me and she says, okay, for you, $3. And I'm like, $3. Okay, I'm going to take it, $3. And I brought it home and it worked fine. And it probably still does. I haven't plugged it in a long time. You guys I know you guys want me to plug it in. So let's see if I can hear anything here. I'm going to plug it in. And if it explodes or if the house gets on fire, well, you know why. So let's see here. Volume. And do the tubes lit up. So this is an All-American 5 tube radio. I'm trying to see if the tubes are lighting up. And the tubes are any tube lighting up? Doesn't seem to. Let me check that out here. Unplug it. But anyways, it's later on that I learned. Later on in my life. Oh, I think it doesn't. Okay, let's check it out here. So this, the speaker is like. Okay, let me check that out. I'm gonna put this here because I think this is one of the problems. So there should be I think it just doesn't fit well here. Yeah, check it out here. This looks like this. This should be going here. Let's see if it works in some way. Let's see if anything does to light up again. Let's just light up. So, I see the tubes lighting up. I see the tubes. I don't know if you guys can see the tubes throughout the little holes here. I tried to, no, we don't really. Oh yeah, maybe here through one of the holes. So, is this gonna work? The tubes are lighting up, but volumes, this is the volume. I don't hear anything right now. So I have to check that out. I haven't used this radio in a long time. Last time I did, a couple of years ago, it worked. So I have to check out what's happening. The tubes are lighting up. All the tubes are bright, but no sound. So I'm going to have to check that out. Anyways, story behind the radio is that this was given as a radio to CKVL 850 listeners long time ago. So that's one of the American Fives. I need to check it out because I want it to work. I'm going to check that out. John McKim, I was glad to learn that 2749 broadcasting from Nova Scotia from your Texan H501X tuning the other day. Hope to receive it down here in Florida. Try it regularly. And you'll have stuff for sure. Tom the Xer, careful, you might have a real fire on your wall. Yeah. Well, I think I need to check out something is just not right. Shelly, neighbors might be used to seeing flames in your radio room, so I hope it doesn't catch fire. Yeah, no smoke or anything. The tubes are working, but doesn't have sound, so I need to check that out. But I saw that the speaker seemed to be having kind of moving, so maybe the speaker is disconnected somehow. John Beckham, what a show! The Pink Fleetwood radio from CKVL troubleshooting. That's one of the tubes lit up. Might be a bad tube. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I've got tubes to replace, anyways. I got all the tubes to if I need to replace. So I'm gonna check it out. If it's a tube or something. So, anyways, that lady, to finish the story with that lady, is that lady, there was every week I would go to, she would be there every week, and I would go there every week, and every week she had a radio. It could be a European radio of some sort that I've never seen before. It could be a tube radio that she had, and the prices were always very good because it was always like $3, $4, $5, $4. I was like, that's my price range. $4 up to $5. She would have said $10. I would have taken it anyway. It's like, yeah, it's okay, no problem. You got a radio geek in front of you. It's like, you'd pay $10 for it, and it's like, yeah, that's all right. I'll pay $10. And then one day when I went there to check out, she wasn't there anymore, and somebody had told me that she passed away. I didn't know where she got these radios. Were they radios that she had, or she would find them somewhere? I don't know, but it was like, kind of interesting. Okay, so hey, how about a little bit of history of radio and some radio clips? How about we end the night with a few older broadcasts from old days? So the question I have for any of you been listening to Shortwave recently or not, is there any old time radio station, gone or still there, that you'd like to hear an interval signal, a clip of some sort? This is where you come in, guys. Okay. I'm gonna start with an old Radio Moscow clip. An old Radio Moscow clip. And by the way, that radio, I'm going to check it out tomorrow, and hopefully we're going to try to have it working for Saturday. So, Radio Moscow, I'm going to start with a Radio Moscow clip. I feel like something from the past from Radio Moscow. So let's check out Radio Moscow. Shortwave from, here's Radio Moscow. Oh, from 1960. Radio Moscow congratulates JFK, so John F. Kennedy, on election win, apparently. Wow. Okay.
Here is the news read by Lucy Crofton and Sergei Rudin. First, the headlines. Prime Minister Khrushchev has congratulated Senator Kennedy on his election to the presidency of the United States. We hope, he wrote, that during your term in office, the relations between our two countries will take the course they followed during Franklin Roosevelt's time.
Opposition members of the British Parliament sharply criticized a new statement by Prime Minister Macmillan that the government will not be able to control the use of nuclear weapons by American submarines.
Those are the headlines. Here now are the details. Prime Minister Khrushchev has congratulated Senator John Kennedy on his election to the presidency of the United States. We hope, he wrote, that during your term in office, the relations between our two countries will take the course they followed during Franklin Roosevelt's time, suiting the fundamental interests not only of the Soviet and American people, but also of all humanity, which longs for riddance of the threat of another war. Many people look towards the United States and the Soviet Union, since the destiny of universal peace depends greatly on the state of American-Soviet relations. We have declared and declare now, as Khrushchev pointed out, that we respect the gifted, peace-loving people of the United States and are ready to work for the most friendly ties between them and between the Soviet and...
Wow. Funny how, history repeats. We hear that, and I'm looking at what's happening with Russia and Ukraine today. I'm like, funny how it feels like old Cold War days, eh? Just saying. Okay, so that was a clip from 1960 where Radio Moscow and the president of USSR is saying that congratulations to John F. Kennedy. That's an interesting old radio broadcast. And 10101, nice to have you here. Buzzer is on the air since 1970. Classic station on 4625. Keegan is listening to WTWW on 5085. What else do we have? Radio Netherlands, says Jeff King. Radio Netherlands. So let's see. What do we have from Radio Netherlands? Radio Netherlands. Shortwave. Whoops. Shortwave. Shortwave. Yeah, I like to write Shortwave. Maybe shortwave should be better. Shortwave. Okay. Here we have a recording. It's interesting how Radio Netherlands was such a popular station, but it isn't the one that has the most. So let's check it out here. Radio Netherlands. Just want to try to see and find something about something interesting that we haven't heard before. So, of course, you have the interval signal, which is a very distinct interval signal. So Radio Netherlands, that one I found the other day. This one is Radio Netherlands Worldwide Final Shortwave Broadcast in English.
This is Radio Netherlands, the Dutch International Service. I'm Jonathan Gruber. Radio Netherlands, the Dutch International Service. There. I've said it for nearly the last time after 65 years on the air. The truth is, though, is that our pedigree goes back to the dawn of radio, and that's why we're playing Eddie Startz's Nice Cup of Tea, his signature tune from Happy Station, which itself started in 1927 as part of PCJ Radio. He said for a nice cup of tea. We're coming to you now live from Cell Fear or Studio 4, and this is the little studio from which we broadcast everything, at least since I've been here, everything, even since we automated our broadcasts, it's all come from right here in this little room. So it is fitting that we end here live, and we're just minutes from the very end of the very last broadcast of Radio Netherlands in English. Dutch has already closed, and most of the other services are closing down as well today, and there's been a party atmosphere at the station. This will be in stark contrast with the silence of the near-empty building come Monday. And for this last broadcast, this is how we're going to go out. Right now, we're going to start the bells. I'm sure that most of you recognize this. It's Merk toch Hoesterk, our interval signal that would announce Radio Netherlands' arrival to the shortwaves. And we'll play the bells to the end, and when they finish, we'll do something a little different. We'll play the Dutch national anthem, De Wilhelmus, and then there will be silence. You won't hear from us again on shortwave. But this isn't the end. Our new task, for the few of us who are left behind, will be to build something new and ambitious. For 65 years, we have been a broadcaster that has had the tremendous good fortune to be totally editorially independent. We were never a government mouthpiece. This was a rare thing during the heydays of shortwave, and it is today. So, as of Monday, we are being asked to look at the world and to search for places where the media is less than free and lend a hand. And in some cases, we'll be going to them, and where that's not possible, we will help them come to us. It's a worthy task, and I, for one, am happy to do it because, frankly, that's what we were doing anyway.
Really?
Right?
What exactly has happened to that?
Hundreds of you have written in over the last weeks. We've read all your comments, and we feel really great about them, so thank you so much for writing. And above all, thank you for listening. Thank you for valuing what we did. Thank you for letting us know it was worthwhile. We are profoundly moved.
Then why have
sometimes
you not
we moved you too.
kept shortwave alive?
As Dr. Seuss said, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. And so,
Yeah. Looks like
you can't expect your team to manage work with this.
It sounds so much like, government rhetoric. Oh well. What about this? What's this?
Zijn op het Antilliaanse eiland Bonaire de masten omhoog geschoten van een tweetal nieuwe korte golfzenders.
Oh, that's the Bonaire transmitter site. Okay, let's continue here. Check out what people want to hear. John, Mike WX50, Radio Luxembourg. Radio Luxembourg. One of his favorite. Let's look here. Radio Luxembourg. Shortwave. Anything here at Radio Luxembourg shortwave? So, Radio Luxembourg, 6090 kilohertz. Let's check this one out. Okay, that's music. Sorry guys if I passed, but music is not a good idea on this. Oh, so apparently they were playing Love Hurts on that broadcast. What else do we have? Radio Luxembourg, what's this? Radio Luxembourg jingles. Okay, that's interesting.
Midnight Memories, Radio Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
Radio Luxembourg.
Interesting. And what about here on the interval signal archive? Let's check Luxembourg. Luxembourg on the archive. Luxembourg was here. Here we go. Radio Luxembourg. External. 1976. And so here it goes. Here it goes. Someday it'll happen.
The best of everything on Radio Luxembourg.
205, 206, 207.
Quality counts on
The station of the stars, Radio Luxembourg.
everything's great on Black and White.
So that's what we have from Radio Luxembourg. It's not always easy to find, good clips of stations, but I'll try my best to find what you guys want to hear. John Beckham, Radio South Africa, interval. Of course, that's something. Radio RSA. Here's a broadcast from Radio RSA. Radio RSA Shortwave. Here is Radio RSA, a broadcast from the Voice of South Africa, Johannesburg, from the 80s. Let's see here. Anything else? Sounds like curiosity. So here's the 1975 Radio RSA signing on in English with their signature tune. This one, I gotta say, brings me back to my first years of shortwave listening.
This is Radio RSA, the voice of South Africa from Johannesburg. Hours Greenwich Mean Time. You're listening to the Voice of South Africa, Radio RSA, broadcasting from Johannesburg to listeners in Africa on 21535 kilohertz in the 13-meter band, 152220 kilohertz in the 19-meter band, and 11900 kilohertz in the 25-meter band. Sunday, the 11th of May. News in brief. The leader of the National Front for the Liberation of Angola, Mr. Holden Roberto, has categorically rejected Portugal's call for a summit meeting to avert civil war in the territory.
So that was Radio RSA with a 1975 broadcast of the station. Skip wants something about Radio Tirana ranting at someone. Let's see. Radio Tirana shortwave. From the past. We want it from the past. So Radio Tirana shortwave in the 80s. Something that we can go that. So here is Radio Tirana. Wait. Let's check it out here. Radio Tirana. Radio Tirana. Let's see what we have here. Radio Tirana. Shortwave. Okay, this. I don't have any rant per se, but we will all join together in a moment of mourning because we all comrades, and we need to make sure that we understand how the atmosphere was so sad on what is it, 4th of November 1985. So please, my comrades.
This is Radio Tirana. We begin our broadcast in the English language.
I like that we hear the woodpecker from Russia in the background. That makes it totally shortwave of the 80s. So this is from 1985. And let's all join in the sadness.
Announcement. The Central Committee of the Party of Labour of Albania, the Presidium of the People's Assembly of the People's Socialist Republic of Albania, the Council of Ministers of the People's Socialist Republic of Albania, the General Council of the Democratic Front of Albania. Comrades, communists, workers, co-optivists,
communists and workers, comrades,
women,
let's go.
And the youth of Albania, veterans of the war and compatriots. With the deepest grief, we inform you that today, the 11th of April, 1985,
it's April.
At 2 hours 15, the heart of the beloved and glorious leader of the party and our people, Comrade Enver Hoxha, First Secretary of the Central Committee of the Party of Labour of Albania, Chairman of the General Council of the Democratic Front of Albania, Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces, ceased to beat.
And should we be sad about it? So that was certainly some broadcast. Imagine one shortwave guy trying to make a reception report. Well, at 0200 hours UTC, you talk about your leader that died. At 0202 UTC, you talk about everybody loved your leader. At 0204 UTC, you played the national anthem. And at 0206 UTC, somebody mentioned how the leader was the best communist leader in the world. So that's my reception report. Can I have a QSL card, please? Oh, man. Okay, let's continue here. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yep. Jeff King lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and got a pen pal from Radio Netherlands. Wow. Dmitry, it's a nice piece of history. He used to record old radio around the time 1963, 64. Yeah. Yeah, that was the last, and I played only a part of it. It's on YouTube. Just go on YouTube and put Radio Netherlands last transmission. Oh man, VT Radio. Looking at Kenwood R2000, which I have on eBay. The seller embedded your video in the description. Okay. Wow. Okay. Greg, you had an old tube stereo record player and receiver that received FM shortwave only. Pretty cool. Yeah, Radio Luxembourg was very, very musical. Oh, man. What else do we have? Anything else somebody wants to hear? They were very the later Radio Tirana after the communist era was fine, but man, is Radio Tirana still broadcasting via WRMI? I haven't heard them in a while. St. Pharaoh's UBV, the buzzer UVB 76 clearly audible and 30 plus U loop with no phase inversion and interrupted shield, but no audible on at all on stock U loop. Bit better on HF Plus Discovery than SDR Uno, but similar. Huh. NDK2, did you ever hear Radio Freedom, the anti-apartheid clandestine? Nope, never. Never. Skip says you forgot fellow travelers. You know, Skip, we had a Quebec club here, and the Club on Côte Quebec, and they were actually doing a contest where the person with the highest score would win a shortwave radio, and we're in 1986, maybe somewhere around there, and there's 100 tasks to do. And they're all tasks that you can't cheat, like get a QSL card from that station. You know, if you don't have it, you don't have it, and you can't cheat. So there's all sorts of these little details, and if it was a recording of a station, you had to submit the 4-track tape with the recording on it. You really want to make sure that you heard whatever and that what you submitted was fair. Each question on the 100 questions were like 2 points, 4 points, 3 points, depending on how hard it was to get those. And the total was on, oh man, I think the total points were on something like 500 points. If you had 500 points, you had everything right. And so everything looked, when you look at the points, everything would go to 400 points. And then you would look at it, it's like, okay, 400. There's 100 points missing. It's because the last task, the last question was 100 points if you hear the Radio Tirana lady laughing on the air. So it's like, yeah, like nobody's going to get that one. I imagined somebody from the club writing to Radio Tirana saying, can you laugh on that day and that date? Oh, man, this was crazy. Yeah, these people had a lot of titles. Definitely, Matt. Oh, man. Yeah, the woodpecker in the background of it. Absolutely. Marvin Motz, good morning from China. Fascinating to hear old radio broadcast. Thanks. I'm looking forward to Radio Free America. Maybe you need to pick up broadcasts from the future. Man, who knows? What else we have? Good night, Dwayne. Take care. Radio Tashkent interval signal. So let's go here and check out Radio Tashkent interval signal. Here we go. This is vintage from 19. This one is from 2000. Radio Tashkent. 22 years ago. Not that far away, actually. Eh?
Radio Tashkent calling. This is Radio Tashkent, broadcasting from the Republic of Uzbekistan in the 31, 32, and 41 meter band.
I've never heard Radio Tashkent. And here's one from Radio Tashkent, also from 1982. Wonder if it changed over time. 1982 Radio Tashkent. Oh, same one. It's pretty much the same thing.
Radio Tashkent calling. This is Radio Tashkent broadcasting in the 19 and 25 meter bands on frequencies of 15,115, 15,640, 11,730, and 11,925 kilocycles respectively.
Larry Gilmore, that station from Switzerland, Swiss Radio International, which was Switzerland. And here we go, Switzerland. Swiss Radio International from, let's check it out here. This one in, so external, from Swiss Radio International from 2000. Here we go. This is their interval signal and ID.
You're tuned to Swiss Radio International in Bern. Stay tuned for our programs to Southwest Europe in English, German, French, and Italian on 15.315 megahertz.
Swiss Radio International. Radio Suisse Internationale. Le journal Vanda Yanka.
Schweizer Radio International. Radio Svizzera Internazionale. Studio aperto.
Care amiche, cari amici, buona domenica da Esther.
And for our friend Kevin Michael, Radio Japan. As it's playing, I'm going to go pee.
Nippon 放送協会 NHK の国際放送です。東京からお送りします。This is Radio Japan, the overseas broadcasting service, and NHK in Tokyo.
Good evening, everyone. This is Radio Japan, the overseas service of NHK in Tokyo.
Hey, just in time. Just in time. So, okay. What else do we have? What else do we have? Radio New Zealand. Radio New Zealand. New Zealand. New Zealand. Here we go. External Radio New Zealand. Here, let's go to this one. Radio New Zealand. Oh, they have multiple ones here. New Zealand International. Multilingual. Huh? This one. What's this one? Multilingual. That's interesting. The one they have usually right now on shortwave is the birds that we hear all the time.
Bonjour de Kanaki.
Ciao Rana from the Kukalani. Kunameri from Kiribati. Aloha from.
Interesting to have multilingual. That's what we hear right now most of the time.
The Robin.
Vintage 76. 2000 National Radio.
National Radio, a network of Radio New Zealand, funded through New Zealand On Air.
This is the more modern one. What else do we have? Let's check it out here. Check it out here. Mike WX50 Radio Tashkent was one of the Eastern Bloc stations I enjoyed listening to. They didn't seem as strident politically as other communist broadcasters. Yeah, there was a lot of varying broadcasting in there. Estrella Garcia, nice to have you here. Love Mike WX50. Love the Swiss Radio International interval signal. I like Swiss Radio International, man. How about Radio of the Kyrgyzstan, Dmitry? Kyrgyzstan. What do we have from Kyrgyzstan here? We have anything here? I believe we have nothing here about it. So I got nothing about that. Sorry. No Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, pit stop intermission. Radio Canada International, of course, one of the favorites of a lot of people around the world. Radio Canada International on their fantastic Sackville transmitter site. It was just so great. Canada. Here's external. Yeah, we're going to have a few here. So we're going to have Radio Canada International. This is from 1995. We're going to have the different iterations of Radio Canada. So 1995.
Radio Canada International.
Radio Canada International.
Radio Canada International.
Radio Canada International. Ici Radio-Canada International. Nous diffusons vers l'Europe, l'Afrique et le Moyen-Orient sur 17 820, 15 150, 13 690, 13 650, 11 945, 9 805, 7 235, 5 995 et 5 925 kHz dans les bandes des 16, 19, 22, 25, 31, 41
This brings me back to the teenage years.
В эфире Международное канадское радио. Эту передачу можно слушать на волнах 16, 19, 25, 31, 41 и 49 метров. На следующих частотах 6150, 6185, 7265, 9555, 11930.
1985. Anyone remember this interval signal?
This is Radio Canada International on the air with a program of particular interest to Canadians abroad.
Ici Radio Canada International en ondes avec une émission d'intérêt particulier pour les Canadiens à l'étranger.
Morning news in English and French from the newsrooms of Radio Canada International is transmitted to Europe, the Middle East, and Africa in the 16, 19, 25, 31, 41, and 49 meter bands.
Here's the CBC Northern Quebec service. That was on 9625.
This is CBC North Quebec. We transmit on satellite and on shortwave at frequency 9625 kilohertz. CBC North Quebec, PO Box 6000, Montreal, Quebec 833388. Yeah, my did you better be 75? I'm saying, did you know? Yeah, you bite now. Yeah, you bite 75. Now, yeah, go all that stuff. Fine. Did you bite in the bus? I'm like, who would first on that side? Fine. No, 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 first, me first. Yeah, you bite 75. Now,
Wow.
yes, the bus bite stuff.
And here's Canadian Forces Network.
Radio Canada, Nord Québec. Ainsi se terminent nos émissions quotidiennes.
Good afternoon. I'm Gary Barnes with a look at your local weather conditions. For Brunson-Mungan and Kirshen today, cloudy with showers and a high of 7 degrees. Periods of rain in Ramstein with a high of 9. Rain as well in Heidelberg, a high of 12 degrees. For Shape and Brussels, cloudy with showers and a high of 8.
Sorry, guys.
For Ruislip, the UK, mostly cloudy, showers, a high of 10. In Naples, partly sunny with a high of 20 today. And in Stavanger, it's partly sunny and a high of 7. Keeping Canadians in touch. You're listening to CFN.
Here's one that I just saw. I like to listen to a lot of Nordic countries. Let's do all the interval signals from the Nordic countries there.
Canadian Forces Network.
Here is...
It's 1 o'clock in Central Europe.
Here is from 19. Okay, this one is 1998 YLE Radio Finland.
Suomen Yleisradio. Kansainväliset taajuutemme tämän tunnin aikana ovat Euroopassa 11.755, 963 ja 558
country, Radio Norway International.
Dette Norge. This is Radio Norway International. This is Radio Norway International. Dette Norge. Etter en halvtimes program på engelsk sender vi søndagens gudstjeneste. This is Radio Norway International broadcasting to the Far East and New Zealand on 15.225 megahertz, to Australia on
Radio Sweden International.
Sveriges Radio, utlandsprogrammet. Radio Sweden International.
Ni lyssnar till Sveriges Radio utlandsprogrammet. Här kommer nu ett halvtimmesprogram på svenska.
That also brings me to the good old days of my teenage year listening to Radio Sweden. And we have... Here's the Deutsche Welle from 1980 in Kigali Relay.
La Deutsche Welle, station relais Kigali, Rwanda.
Hier ist die Deutsche Welle.
HCJB
It's
from
9 p.m. in Quito, the
1965.
equivalent of 0200 hours Greenwich Mean Time. We are ready to present our next English release, Ecuadorian Echoes, which will continue for 2.5 hours. On behalf of the entire HCJB staff, we welcome you to this series of gospel programs in the English language. We are sending this broadcast your way on the 19-meter band at 15.115 megacycles, in the 25-meter band at 11.915 megacycles, and in the 31-meter band at 9.745 megacycles. Join us now as we herald Christ Jesus' blessings.
And here's another one from 1999. There's Radio Quito.
Desde la mitad del mundo, transmite Radio Quito, la voz de la capital.
We're on 5920 and the tropical band.
En Radio Quito, el tiempo es relativo. La puntualidad es exacta.
En punto, son las 3 horas.
There is also Radio Luz y Vida from Quito, from Ecuador, on shortwave. So that was another one from the shortwave bands.
This is Radio Light and Life calling. This is Radio Light and Life calling. Radio Luz y Vida from the equator in Ecuador, South America, on the frequency of 4825 kilohertz in the 60-meter band.
Zen Pharaohs, there's a lot of Stanag in that frequency range of 4 megahertz.
We wish all our DX listeners good reception. We would very much like to receive your reception reports to the following address: Radio Luz y Vida, Post Office Box 222, Loja, Ecuador, South America.
Let's all write a letter to that address today, see if that happens, if something comes back. What else do we have? John Beckham, speaking of Canada, going to Hamilton. I've never been to that city. In Ontario, I've been to Toronto. I've been to Niagara Falls. I've been to the Upper Canada Village, and that's pretty much it from Ontario. I've never been to Hamilton. Radio Denmark. Radio Denmark that never broadcasts on anything else but Danish. Radio Denmark. But the interval signal was always there. And it was always easy to listen to also. Here's Radio Denmark from 1989. And here we go.
Til Radio Danmark. You're listening to Radio Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark.
That was short. John Beckham, Radio Sweden, very special to me as that station reminds me of a Swedish school teacher I met years ago. Okay. I can remember logging Radio Denmark. They didn't broadcast in English back then, but they had an English ID. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to check it out, Greg, for the radio, the old radio. John Beckham, this is so very good that you have kept the old days of shortwave alive with these recorded intervals. Always been a treat when you play these intervals around Yesterworlds. It's always nice. Absolutely. Yep, HCJBDX Party 9. I was also an Index member. Long time ago. Man, crazy. Time flies. Let's see what else is there interesting in here that will remind me of anything. Well, one station. Let me go here to Brazil. Radio Nacional do Brasil, Radio Braz. This is a station I remember when I started listening to them. They left shortwave not that long after I started listening to them. But for me, it was so special to hear this station. Remember the 25-meter band around 02 UTC, and I got several QSL cards from them. Radio Nacional do Brasil in the 80s, and here's a recording of that.
This is the international service of Radio Nacional de Brasília, Brazil, ZYF 263.
Station I enjoyed also a lot over years, and I've got several QSLs from them, is Radio Austria.
Ö3 International.
New Danube Radio. This is the start of a new service of the Austrian radio. A special.
This one. This one. Find external
Danube News.
Oh, here we are. Radio Austria. This is their interval signal. It's one part, but they had another one.
Radio Österreich International.
Radio Austria International.
Radio Triest International.
Radio Austria International.
What about this one? That I remember from the 80s.
Auf Kurzwelle. Aus Wien hören Sie das Österreich-Journal.
Apart from that, what else is interesting here that I could see? Oh, we could check out this with a Radio Budapest from Hungary from 1976, which sounded like this.
Good evening. You are tuned to Radio Budapest, Hungary. This is Anna Gulyás welcoming you to another broadcast from Radio Budapest, Hungary.
There was after this is a more modern version of it, I believe, than when they were. So at that time, this is 76 when they were communists, and here's the later years of Radio Budapest. That was the later years. It's from 2007.
Itt Budapest. Önök a Magyar Rádió műsorát hallják.
This is Radio Budapest, Hungary.
It's interesting because I look at a lot of the transmissions, and their transmissions are in the year 2000s. It isn't that long ago that a lot of them left the shortwave bands, honestly. Pretty crazy. Well, look at that. And it's like, wow. Okay. Man, just a lot of them remind me. They send me back in my good old teenage years of listening. Dang. Russia had a few stations, but let me check here what we have when I look at Russia. So, Russia, if we go to vintage, there's an external stuff, quite a few stations. So, one of them here is, check it out. The Voice of Russia from 2000. Okay, let's check it out here. So, Voice of Russia. We have. Let me check out what I could find here. So, Radio Moscow. Here's Radio Moscow from 1985.
This is the North American service of Radio Moscow, broadcasting on 17.70, 15.45, 15.42, 15.14, 12.05, 9.87, 9.76, 9.72, 9.70, 7.32, 7.18, 7.15, 7.11, and 6.11 megahertz.
St. Petersburg. One that I'm trying to remember. There was something called Radio Peace and Progress, if I remember. There's definitely
this is Radio
something.
Moscow. Here's the news. First, the headlines. The Political Bureau of the Soviet Communist Party Central Committee has discussed practical issues of the country's home and foreign policy. There were anti-racist actions in South Africa to mark international.
I don't find it here, but there was a station called Radio Peace and Progress, if I remember well, from Russia. There was a few broadcasts from Russia, a lot of them in Russian, though. So, take care, Mark. Always nice to have you on board. Hey, Dan. Nice to have you here from Ohio and AWJZ. Zen Faros, you're hearing Voice of America. 4 cheese pasta. That sounds good. Canadian Radio TV guy. So we just played Radio Moscow. So let me see if I have a last little station request here. Oh, something that brings me to the good old days. So there's Voice of Turkey. The Voice of Turkey changed their interval signal. Back when I listened to shortwave in the 80s, the Voice of Turkey had this interval signal, which was the piano. Nope. This is not the one. This is not the one. They had one. Vintage 1982. Voice of Turkey. When did they change their interval signal? So this. Yeah, that's the one.
This is the Voice of Turkey.
You know, that's like Albania, how they changed. So Radio Tirana. Radio Tirana's communist. That's their interval signal in the 80s when they were communist. And this is today. Kind of a lot softer from the communist days. Solomon Islands Broadcasting. For Keegan.
Sharing the gospel through sermon and
WIFR.
song. This is Family Radio.
Here's Transworld Radio Bonaire that was easily heard in North America.
This is Transworld Radio broadcasting from the sunshiny island of Bonaire in the Netherlands Antilles, the international sound of the Caribbean.
So these are good old memories of shortwave as we were back in the days. Oh man, amazing what we could hear and what was on the air. I have a QSL from a station in IET that is 4VEH, and I remember hearing 4VEH in the early 80s on 4930 kilohertz. souvenir that I have from it is that it is Easter, and it is the first time ever that I tuned that station on my Radio Shack DX302. About 4930, I hear it's in French. It's not very strong, but it's there. I'm wondering what it is, and the ID is 4VEH IET. And I remember very well because my dad had bought a chocolate bunny, and back then we had a big aquarium, and my radios were near it, so I would listen to shortwave and look at the fish in the aquarium. And I still remember I was eating chocolate, looking at the fish, and I heard 4VEH in IET. And I have a QSL from pretty much that era, which is pretty amazing. And there was Voice of Israel, Radio Israel, Kol Israel. That is one of the first stations I heard, I think the first night ever on shortwave.
This is Israel broadcasting from Jerusalem. Good morning, everyone. The time is 7 o'clock, 5 hours Greenwich Mean Time.
Israel ditzin Jiddisch von Jerusalem. Shalom und a guten Abend all unsere Zuhörer.
One station that I heard very often, one of my best friends was, his parents were Italian. So he would listen to the Italian service. I'd listen to the French service of this station and the English service. From Italy, of course. Rai, Italy.
RAI, Radio Televisione Italiana. Qui RAI International, che trasmette quotidianamente per l'Australia su Kilohertz.
Portugal. I remember that interval signal from Portugal. Very simple, but very effective. In Radio TV guy, why did you block Tosenlov? Actually, doesn't really Paul doesn't react much to birds. He reacts pretty much to not a lot of stuff except my voice, I think. It's just so funny. It's like, you know. So hey guys, we've been on for 3 hours and 14 minutes. Hope that you enjoyed the show today. And we went through some old days of broadcasting. We are going to be back Saturday. Saturday, what we'll do is a regular show, and we'll try to do a little bit of tuning around at the same time. a little bit like we did last week. A lot of you guys enjoyed that. So I'm probably going to do that also at the same time this coming Saturday. So if you want to join in. And hope that you enjoyed the show today. And it's always fun to be here. And really nice to have everybody on board. So, you know what? Let's end the show with our national anthem for Shortwave, which is Moscow Nights. Hope that you enjoyed the show today. Always fun to be here. So we'll be back Saturday, 20 hours Universal Time. Stay safe. Love you all. And take care. Getting cold. Take care, my friends. Love you all. Stay safe, okay? See you Saturday, 20 hours Universal Time.